Alright, in this segment we're going to create a disc brake and the caliper that goes along with that. So I'm going to start by giving myself a cylinder, polygon cylinder, and I'm just going to go ahead and draw that out. I'm going to put it at 0, 0, 0 location in the world. And let's see what I have in perspective. Alright, so we've got this object back here. Let's go ahead and bring down the resolution on that. We don't need that much resolution in there for this particular object. So let's go on over here, dial down our subdivisions to maybe 10, about half of what we currently have on the wheels. And let's see, let's bring that on out so we can take a look at it. Alright, it's got virtually no depth right now, but let's give it some. Alright, so let's come on in here and give this some detail. The disc is fairly thin, but it does have some definition, so let's go ahead and give it some depth to start with. And then I'm going to come back in here with my edge loop tool. Alright, so here we have the cylinder with 3 subdivisions in the height and 3 subdivisions in the cap, and it's really necessary that you get this information into your primitive object before you start to scale or any of that. So otherwise you end up with some bad artifacting. So what I'm going to do is come in here and grab some edges, scale those out. There we go again with that. So that we can become my object. And then actually the entire thing is a little large, so I'm going to go ahead and scale that down so you can see some daylight through there. Okay. A bit more. Alright, so this is more of an accurate size I like for my disc. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and bring that back out so we can work out on it a little bit. And I'm going to scale that at this point. With these particular edge loops, I'm just going to double select on those, shift key down, and then I can scale those out to become my definition for the edge loop there. And here I can go ahead and create an edge loop as well to maintain that detail in the outer part of the disc. Okay, and I think inside here I'm going to select on the faces and extrude those. Okay, I can come in here and get my edge loops in there to sharpen those edges. And at this point I could just grab these faces, double these, and delete these edges. Don't need those anymore. So when I smooth that now, it's looking a little bit like a disc. Alright, so now I'll create my caliper in here by just grabbing some of these faces out here and duplicating faces. And I'm going to create separate duplicate faces. Okay. Now what we're going to do is build a simple caliper. So I'm going to create some of the caliper from some geometry that already exists. I'm going to select the faces along here that, let's just go ahead and select all these to start with. And I'm going to come up here to, let's see, let's use duplicate face, check my options here, separate, apply. Okay, so that gives me a separate object to work with. Let's deselect that. Alright, let's hide everything but that so we can work on that. Hide unselected objects. Alright, now what we can do with this is, let's go ahead and just grab this object, delete history on that to start with. And now what we're going to do is just go ahead and just scale that object just a little bit so that it comes out from the wheel itself. And we're going to, we have one edge loop along here, and we're going to create another edge loop in here, give it some definition. And you will want to try to find photo reference if you are doing something that's really mechanically accurate, so you can make sure that you get the accuracy and the appearance of the caliper. We'll just extrude those edges. So, and we're going to extrude those, create a little bit of detail, and you can create as much or as little detail as you choose. We're not going to do much because we want to get onto the shaders on this today. So once we have a little bit more detail here, I'm just going to grab some birds here and shape this up just a little bit. Right down in maybe. Okay. Alright. So that's a decent shape for portraying caliper on that end of it. So I do want to maintain the shapes just a little bit more, so I'm going to go ahead and throw some edge loops in there to preserve that. A little bit better. One right here, keep it flat. Make one along this edge. Oops. Yep. And down here as well. Okay, I think that's enough detail for this object. I smooth that, then I get something that looks a little bit believable. No rivets or anything in here, but you can do as much detail as you choose. So let's go ahead and unhide my wheel, my disc brake, my car, and put it all into position. Okay, I've got all my objects unhidden, so now we're going to select the caliper and the disc, move those into position, right behind the wheel. With them all selected, I'm just going to Control G on my keyboard to make that a group. I'm going to name it wheel tire. And now I can position those to perspective to check that. Alright, so we have our wheel and our tire in place. Now what we can do is go ahead and grab that group. If I select on an object and I know I don't have the entire group selected, I can just push on my up arrow to grab that entire group. Once you see the name in your attribute editor, you can go ahead and delete and move that into position. And the same for the other side of your vehicle. And whenever I move anything, I want to make sure to check my orthographic views. Make sure that it's on target. And visually I might move that up, but I know that the car is to be sitting on a planar surface that's completely horizontal to start with, so I'm not going to mess with my translation here in the Y this time. Make sure that remains correct. Alright, so we've got some of our detail going on in our wheels. In our next segment, we're going to talk about Chrome shader and tire displacement map so that you can get some tread on that.